Coming up, we talk about the latest for Halloween Horror Nights coming to Universal Orlando next month. We discuss the future of Disney's Animal Kingdom, and yes, we talk about that infamous Walt Disney Animatronic now premiering at Disneyland. All of that coming up this week on the Theme Park Land podcast. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Theme Park Land podcast, coming to you from stormy and gloomy Claremont, Florida. Today, I am your host, Matt Dobrovolsky, once again joined by my co-host and very good friend, Matt Rogers.
Hey everyone, welcome back.
Thank you all for tuning back in. Hope you had a wonderful week, and more importantly, a very filled Disney week because of these news stories that are coming out of this particular animatronic, because I really want to just dive right on into our big news story this week. The Walt Disney Animatronic has just premiered in Disneyland at the Disneyland Opera House on Main Street. This is probably going to take a few minutes, so if you guys want to go right on over and skip this kind of spoilered section about the Walt animatronic, skip ahead a little bit, but we're going to be talking probably a good chunk about this because I think we have difference of opinions on this.
I don't really know if this is considered spoilers because there's a Walt animatronic. That's it. So,
true, yeah.
So I think we can just freely talk about it.
Yeah, but I mean,
first impressions.
Look, let me talk my feelings because I've made the post out there that I was very excited about this animatronic, to the point that I kept hearing that this was going to be the greatest humanoid animatronic that Disney was ever going to create. Yeah, you're about 95% there, is what I would say. I've seen the videos online. Obviously, I haven't seen it in person. I've seen the reviews of it coming in online of people that have seen it, and they thoroughly enjoy it when they're sitting there. So I'm going to be one of those people in my mind that says I'm going to let my actual experience one day do it justice, because the video won't do it justice. I think it looks pretty darn good, except for the facial features. If you take a look at this thing, obviously, this isn't a video thing, so I can't really show you guys the picture of it right now. But, as you're listening to this, Google Walt Disney Animatronic in Disneyland, and you can kind of look along at what we're referencing here. The face, I'm going to say it looks like the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell.
It does.
I'm very serious.
What we mean by this is the face shape just isn't quite there. It's a little wide. It's not quite as long. It's just...
I was talking to a couple of
coworkers,
and the big thing that everyone kept saying was the cheeks. The cheeks are too high. The cheeks are too high. The cheeks are too high.
I agree with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. That's definitely something. For me, it's the lips. I get it. It's an animatronic. It's not supposed to look real. But you said it was going to look and feel real. So when I hear that, I'm thinking that the lips are going to be moving to the pronunciation of what the words are that are coming out of my mouth.
But they don't.
And so there are some points where it does, but a good chunk of the time, it looks too robotic.
So some people are talking about there's so much footage of Walt in interviews, for example. And that's what we see.
To be fair, they are referencing a specific interview that they did with Walt in the mid-'60s, I believe it was.
That's what they're using for the voice over.
Yes, but because that's where they're getting the audio from this. I believe it was a Canadian broadcast interview. Some Walt historian, please correct me if I'm wrong there.
But it's like the public has this image of what Walt is and what we've all seen in the interviews and the footage of him in all these discussions, whether it be interviews or the Epcot presentation or the World of Disney show. We all have this image of him. So say they worked with the Walt Disney historians and the family, right? And say everyone said, yeah, this is good. Let's just say they're good with it. Does it match the overall public's perception of Walt?
Although I will say, do we think that they waited for the right time to do this? Because notice that a few years ago is when Diane, his daughter, and her husband Ron had passed away, who were the founding members of the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. And obviously Diane was the best true blood relative to Walt that's still alive. Disney did show that they did get their blessing from Roy Patrick Disney, who is the son of Roy E. Disney, who was the nephew of Roy O. Disney, who was the brother to Walt.
Father's brother's cousin's roommate.
Which makes us absolutely nothing.
Spaceballs. But I think the overall impression is it doesn't quite match the public's image of how they see Walt.
I'll agree with that.
And I think it's an interesting in-between, and I don't know why it doesn't match. Maybe it was a technical limitation, maybe it was a lack of research, but I don't really think it was a lack of research. Maybe it was a lack of budget in being able to redesign the standard head of that animatronic to be able to fit the shape of Walt.
We had an interesting discussion the other day that, not us, the two of us, but me and my wife, who could have done that sculpting of the head the best? Especially since you have the references to it. There is a bust of it on the partner statue. There is a bust of it on the Dreamer's Point statue in Epcot. There is a bust of it literally in the pre-show for this show. And that is Blaine Gibson. Blaine Gibson was a very famous Imagineer who sculpted all these human animatronics, who was very prominent for sculpting Abraham Lincoln, who will also be joining alongside Walt.
Yeah, but
interchangeably
is he still around?
Blaine Gibson? No, he passed away.
Right, so that talent isn't around. The
talent is gone, but the sculpting is still there. So you could have easily took the mold of that sculpt and used that. For the animatronic.
Maybe it's easy, maybe it's not easy, but I think the end all.
Heck, I've seen people saying that the Walt wax figure that's over at Madame Tussauds over on iDrive is better than this.
I think the end all be all in this is, if there's one animatronic you have to get perfect because it's based on a real person that everybody has seen, it is a Walt Disney animatronic. And if you can't nail it, no matter how far in the research and development you are, I think you need to abort mission and do something else.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people probably feel that way. And that's why maybe you're getting these initial reactions where it's like, that doesn't really look like him.
Especially since there's a lot of people out there that are still alive that have met Walt. Bob Gurr.
I wonder what Bob Gurr has to say about this.
I would love to see. There's a lot of people's reactions that I would love to see. Bob Gurr, Tony Baxter. Tony, I don't think really ever met Walt truly in his time. There's a lot of people. One of my friends, I would love to get his reaction. His name is Michael Bowling. If you ever listen to the Connecting with Walt podcast that's out there, he's a very, very, very good Disney historian that recounts amazing work on the company's history and legacy. Shameless plug out there for you, Michael. I hope everyone kind of listens to that. He would tear that a new one, truly, if he saw that and he didn't agree with it. I think the heart of the show is there, though. I will say that. The heart of the show is there because the film that precedes the animatronic is the one man's dream film that we know and love down here in Hollywood Studios. Okay. For some reason, though, narrated by Bob Iger.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on a narration by Bob Iger?
I think for right now, cool. Fine. He deserves it. End of next year when he steps down, what are we going to do then? Are we going to switch it out?
I think my personal opinion is I think it would make sense for the show to have the current head of the company present it.
So if Josh takes over, you'd
be
fine
if Josh takes over, do like what you do with Hall of Presidents, just,
switch out the... I mean, he's following the exact same script that you hear Julie Andrews say in Walt Disney Presents, in One Man's Dream.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk about, too, because this is kind of vital to it. You were mentioning that there's so much of the public of how we perceive Walt and everything because of all these videos and everything. Walt didn't really have to worry about that in the 60s when he was building Lincoln. Lincoln at the time had been dead for 100 years.
Right.
There wasn't that much other than, black and white pictures, paintings, and more importantly, just very, very rough audio that the public had gotten of Lincoln. So, to the public, they understood that and they saw, wow, this is a amazing recreation. We are here now in 2025. A lot of us have a perception of Walt because we've seen these videos, because we've heard his voice. We never met the guy because he's been dead since the 60s. But we're here now and we have that image of and visual and audio of Walt in our head. And that's why I think we're so super critical on this. If we were to try and do this again with like a George Washington or something like that,
it would be fine.
We'd be fine.
Because you can think of it as this is a possible depiction of how George Washington would have looked. Just like we did, in the 60s when we had great moments with Mr. Lincoln debut at the World's Fair. It's, this is really cool. They brought Lincoln back to life. This is a depiction of what Lincoln could have been like. But, we're, 2 generations out from when Walt died? 3 generations out? Whatever, It's like, your grandparents watched Walt live. On live television.
They watched what was it, Sunday evenings with Walt talking about Disneyland.
Yeah.
So they have that perception. I will say this, I think the people that you're seeing truly complaining about this animatronic, I mean, I don't think most of them were alive at that point.
Well, no, I wasn't alive and I'm complaining about it.
Right. But I'm saying, like, a lot of the people that are, there's very few people that are complaining that were a part of that generation. So I'd love to hear more from those people. Like we said, I would love to hear from Bob Gurr. I'd love to hear from Michael Bowling. I'd love to hear from these people that have truly had that memory of Walt already. Heck, if Ron was still alive, I would love to know what Ron would think about this.
So the question is, what does Disney do going forward? Do they rework this figure a little bit, or is that just it and it is what it is?
Well, a lot of people, from what I've seen on the internet, have been talking about an interesting thing. We are currently in, the 4th, maybe even 5th iteration of the Lincoln animatronic. So who's to say this isn't going to be the one and done Walt animatronic? They'll learn from their issues, and then they'll make modifications over time, whether that's from the same figure or maybe even build another figure for Florida.
Well, if they decide to keep the show for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, like they've done with Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, the figure will be replaced. It's Absolutely. A mechanical device. It has a service life.
It will be modified, I think, throughout the years. We do know that the show will be running continuously at the Main Street Opera House from tomorrow, July 17th, through at least the end of the year. They haven't really said a date when Lincoln would return, but Lincoln would be interchangeable with this show. So what I was thinking was that what if it's going to be like on the hours you would be able to see Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and then on the half hours you would get to see Walt Disney A Magical Life.
I believe they might approach it like they do with the theater in the France Pavilion at Epcot. First half of the day.
Please don't make me have to wait around until midnight to be able to watch Great Most of Mr. Lincoln.
No, but I think it might be a thing where they like do from this time to this time it's show A, from this time to this time it's show B, and then it goes back to A.
Because that's always been my complaint with the France Theater in Epcot, is that the only chance you get to see Impressions de France from a 9 to 9 day at Epcot, which is 95% of their operating hours throughout the year, from 9 to 9:30 in the morning is Impressions de France. And then you can't see it again until about 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. You have 2.5 hours to see that animatronic. Now, Disneyland, typical hours are 8 a.m. to midnight. So if we're talking maybe Walt is going to be running from 10 to 6, and then Lincoln would be running from 6 to midnight and 8 to 10 in the morning, cool. That would be great. But I can't also see them running Lincoln that early, because nobody would probably be going.
It depends on how complicated it is to switch the show. If it's designed smart, it should be the flip of a switch. Yeah. But
from what I've heard, from what you can also kind of see too, is that it's supposed to be on a turntable.
Yes. So
if you look at how the show was set up, because when you went to Disneyland with us last year, you didn't get to see Lincoln. It was closed. The way I'm looking at how that stage is set up, Lincoln is literally sitting right behind Walt.
Yeah, it is on a turntable.
Right behind that.
What I think they're going to do is, Disneyland is interesting because you have the tourists, but you also have very heavy local traffic that comes in the evening. So what I think they might do is maybe they'll run Lincoln for the first few hours of the day. Maybe they'll do it on 3-hour rotations or something. That way it gives...
Like I said, I would love to see it on the hours for Lincoln and on the half hours for Walt, or vice versa.
Well, the issue is if you're there and you want to see both shows, but say the next show is going to be full and it's already staged, you have to go out and come back around, and then you miss the other show.
Well, because this show is only about 16 or 17 minutes long, from what I can say. And then Lincoln was about the same, at about like 17 or 18. So, that could make sense if you did it that way. It remains to be seen. The bottom line of this is, I'm going to speak on behalf of myself. Don't judge this thing until you actually truly see it. And I will say this. There are moments when I'm looking at this video, and I may change my mind once I actually see it, but I'm really thinking that's Walt up there. Especially when he leans up from the desk and moves his leg forward. That really hasn't been done in an animatronic kind of truly since Lincoln. Where Lincoln sits up from his chair and recites the Gettysburg Address in Hall of Presidents, or he gives his little speech that he does in Disneyland. Another circumstance of where that is truly remarkable, I would say, is Benjamin Franklin in The American Adventure at Epcot, where he's walking up the stairs and he actually walks forward a little bit. That is a very simple trick, though, because I believe he's just on like some sort of like a mechanism that's kind of moving him forward, and the foot is moving in synchronization kind of with that.
It's actually... It's one of those things where it's like you look at it and it can't be that complicated, but it is. The Benjamin Franklin, it's on a sled that slides the length of the staircase, and then he's on a telescoping lift that goes up.
Right, but what I'm saying is that it is complicated, but it's not as complicated as Lincoln sitting up from his chair or Walt leaning up from his desk to move then forward.
Right.
So... this truly is a remarkable animatronic. I would just say, if Disney was listening, if you want to make this perfect, look at making those enhancements in the facial structure. I've also said, too, his eyes. Something's wrong with his eyes, too. It doesn't look natural, but then again, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt there, because maybe it's also because of the lights from... shining down on the stage, so that's number one.
Maybe they tried to give him a twinkle.
Oh, that's true. But number two, I think, is that a lot of these stock footage that we see of Walt, whether it's photos or video, the quality really isn't there. You know, Disney didn't shoot himself talking about Epcot in 4K high dynamic range, 60 frames per second. No, because that technology was perfected many years later. He shot that thing on film, and then he moved it over to be sent to television. So maybe our eyes are kind of deceiving us in that that's truly what his eye structure kind of looked like to then too.
Maybe.
But definitely I think the cheek structure needs to be moved, and the lips do need to get a little bit of a rework, so in this way the pronunciation can be better.
I think so. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to go back and rework this a little bit to do the improvements.
I will say, too, the speech is also beautiful that he gives. Did you watch the full speech?
Yes.
Okay. And it's a short thing, 2.5 minutes. I almost thought it was going to be just as long as Lincoln's, because Lincoln's is about like 5. But I will definitely go out there, and I will still definitely see this thing. I'm excited.
I'm excited to see it at some point as well.
I want to see it live. Especially all the artifacts that are in that pre-show. A lot of that stuff, at least from looking at it, I think are from the Family Museum in San Francisco.
Interesting.
A lot of the awards stuff, definitely, is probably from there. But anyway, moving on from all of that, because I think we could talk about that Walt Animatronic for a long time. Matt is going to read off the next news story, mainly because I didn't kind of prepare myself with the HHN news.
We're just making the news up as we go.
But we have some news on Horror Nights houses and scare zones here in Orlando.
Yeah, so Universal Orlando has announced the Terrifier will be a house.
Honestly, not really excited for that one.
I haven't seen any of the movies, but it looks
I haven't
creepy.
seen the movies, and I think I'm with our friend Kate on this. I don't really want to go in that house. I think that's going to kind of freak me out a little too much.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Have
fun.
They announced the scare zones as well that are going to be coming. We have Enter the Blumhouse. Blumhouse makes a return once again, this time in a scare zone.
Or as my coworker called it, the Bloom House.
Blumhouse. But on the poster, it looks like we have an assortment of characters from the Blumhouse movies. Also, Torture Fair is going to be another scare zone. Enter this Renaissance fair where only the bravest souls dare to face medieval torture devices.
Wasn't that the one from last year? Are you looking at...
No, this is this year.
Wasn't Torture Fair the one that was in New York last year? I should know because my wife and your wife spent all the time there last year.
I'm looking at the wrong article.
You're looking at the one from... And I am not editing this. I am not editing this at all, sir. Because I knew, I knew, Blumhouse was coming back. We obviously knew Terrifier was coming back as well. But as soon as you said Torture Fair, I'm like, wait, huh? Well, he's looking for that. I will say this. I am very excited about Horror Nights this year. We both have our tickets for the premium event night, which is, I believe that's the last Thursday of August. I wanted to kind of put this out there. Universal is using a price yield strategy on this ticket, which is kind of odd because we've never seen price yield strategies on theme park tickets before. For those of you that are kind of unaware of the terminology, price yield would be something like what you would see on a cruise ship or in a hotel, where they'll discount it significantly when the resort goes on sale for that time period, but then over time as it fills up, they will increase the price to kind of balance out everything, balance out the finances. And they're doing it with this event. I've noticed, because we bought our tickets as soon as they came out, and it was $375 a person plus tax. The event is now, went up a couple of weeks ago to $390 plus tax. And now it is up
went
to
up.
$400.
Jeez, glad we got it while it was high.
Exactly. Like, this is the first time this has ever been done where theme park tickets, specifically after-hour tickets, are using a price yield strategy where you buy it at the first point and it's the cheapest, and then over time it's going to sell out even more. Now, granted, I'm looking at the data and they are selling out. I want to say they only have about 1,500 tickets left or something like that. So it's definitely selling out a lot more than it did last year. And I think
yeah, because last year it got rave reviews, and we can attest it was absolutely incredible, as we talked about on a couple episodes ago. But
why would they go and increase the price like that? Why not just keep it at the $375? Or why didn't they just initially bring up the price?
Because they don't want to sell out. Universal's been using this price fluctuation strategy for the better part of a decade now to moderate express pass sales.
Well, but yes, theme parks do that. I mean, Universal does that with their day-based tickets. Disney also does that with their day-based tickets and after-hour nights, where this day will cost a lot more than this day, and this day will cost significantly less than this day. We're used to that, but we're not used to the fact of, oh, if you didn't buy this ticket to the park at the right time, sorry, now you're going to pay a lot more for that day.
I think it just keeps them from necessarily selling out really quick. It gives people more time to purchase it if they want.
But then why not cap the event more?
Cap the event like higher?
Right, or lower. If you don't want it to...
Because people will buy tickets immediately and it'll be immediately sold out.
True.
This way it prevents that. So, like, yes, tickets have been on sale for a few weeks now, but the reason tickets are still on sale is they strategically keep raising the price, which allows you more. So, like, if you have a friend that bought tickets 3 weeks ago and all of a sudden you want to join, you can still join. It's not sold out.
But now it's going to cost you more than what
right.
your friend
So
did.
I kind of like that because it ensures availability.
True.
To a limited event. But I did some more research just now. Scratch what I said before.
Again, I'm not editing that.
It's fine. We'll deal with it. They announced the Cat Lady of Crooked.
I know both of our wives, I think, are going to
Land.
love that Scare Zone.
So it's they didn't share much information, but the Cat Lady of Crooked Land.
What makes the land crooked?
I don't know, but this is
the land is crooked because of cats.
I love cats. My wife loves cats. I give me a cat
I
Scare
love
Zone.
cats.
Let's go.
My wife loves cats too.
Let's go.
We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have I'm sorry. I again, I look at all these announcements and I'm just like, yeah, I'm excited, but catch me walking through that Five Nights at Freddy's house every single moment I can.
Yes, please. I'm very interested to see how these costumes are going to turn out for Five Nights at Freddy's.
Well, what's interesting, I don't know if you know, they're partnering with the Henson Studios to do this.
This has so much potential.
Because the Henson Studios is responsible for both of the movies.
Good.
So, we're going to see the authenticity.
I don't want to know. I don't want to think about it too much.
Yeah. This will probably be the first house that we go to on that night. I guarantee you.
But yeah, shall we mingle into our primary discussion topic for the day?
We shall. So we're going to talk today about the future of Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Specifically, Tropical Americas. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not going to do really a comprehensive look at Animal Kingdom.
So obviously, Tropical Americas is taking over Dinoland USA. Really.
Boo.
And obviously, work has begun. Work won't truly, fully be going until next year when Dinosaur closes. But we also know the Boneyard is closing in September, I believe.
I'm not sure
I thought they
about
brought that date up.
Boneyard, but I expect Dinosaur to close after the Christmas rush.
I believe so too. I think it'll close in January, which will give them plenty of time. And that section of Animal Kingdom will be closed off probably.
Well,
Disney claims it'll be 2027. I don't see that. I really, truly still don't see that.
We'll get to that, but let's start with a little bit of background on Dinoland first.
Dinoland.
So the Tropical Americas, like we said, it's slated to open in 2027. Dinosaur is going to be rethemed in Indiana Jones Adventure. Chester and Hester's Dinorama will be replaced with an Encanto attraction, which we don't really have official details yet.
Which, again, good riddance to that area. I don't know why that got approved.
Boneyard is going to be replaced with a carousel?
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, have you seen the pictures of the carousel? Because we saw the model when we went to D23
minimal.
last year. It's minimal. It does what it needs. It's a flat ride that we need
without a height restriction that
without a height
replaces
restriction.
Triceratops Spin.
And it's adorable. Like I said, I saw the model at D23. It looks adorable. It's these hand sculpted carousel vehicles that, like, one of them is Kevin from Up. It's going to be all these different animals that you have seen throughout Animal Kingdom. More importantly, the IPs based off of them. Like, I think Simba was one of them too. I want to say characters from the Jungle Book are in there.
So it's more of an Animal Kingdom carousel instead of a Encanto
to a point,
themed carousel. It's kind of interesting.
And I think there's a story behind it too, if I remember them talking about it. They said like there's a local. It got the Joe Rohde story behind it, I believe.
Wow.
I mean, Joe Rohde probably maybe even thought about this and gave it to them as an idea.
But so Dinoland. What's the deal with Dinoland? So it opened as part of Animal Kingdom in 1998. And the message of Dinoland was extinction is forever. Right? And it really fits into that original vision of Animal Kingdom where it's all animals, past, present, and imagined. Now, the way Animal Kingdom was originally designed, you were going to have this divided into sections. Dinoland was animals in the past, Africa was animals in the present, and then Beastly Kingdom, which was never built, was going to be imagined animals. As the park progressed through construction and expansion phases, the lines for that kind of got blurred. So, for example, the first mythical creature represented at Animal Kingdom was the Yeti in Expedition Everest, which was over in the Asia section. So the lines kind of got blurred as to where these types of themes would be. They ended up being integrated into existing lands for the most part.
But that definitely came back with Pandora in 2017.
Well, Pandora isn't even about animals imagined. It's straight up about conservation, right? Because the whole park overall has moved towards an overarching conservation theme everywhere instead of just having one specific area.
I would argue, yes, it is definitely about conservation, but it is also about that imaginary. Because, I mean, the Na'vi are not real creatures out there.
Right.
And especially when you see, like, the Banshees. The Banshees are definitely these imaginary characters thought up by the mind of legendary director James Cameron.
Right. So, my question to you, Matt, is do we think Dinoland still fits in, as it is today, with the overall theme of Animal Kingdom going to a park-wide conservation message instead of just having it in Africa, for example?
Well, I will say this. The conservation message of Animal Kingdom is slightly dying. Because Tropical Americas, as far as we're both aware, I believe, doesn't have any sort of conservation message. It's all about exploring another portion of the world, which, okay, I can get behind that, but again, where is that conservation
Well, I wonder
message?
if the conservation message might be a lot of Central Americas, Tropical Americas, isn't untouched, right? We haven't had a lot of expansion and destruction in that part of the world. Due to human growth.
But is that what we're truly building, though? We're not really building.
Right, but I
these
wonder if the
rainforests
message
and
might be,
everything.
hey, this is kind of the last natural frontier. This is what we want to conserve. I wonder if they might try and spin it that way.
Yeah.
You know, I don't...
And I mean, we could see something with the Encanto ride. Because obviously the kid, I mean, just goes to show you how much I pay attention with Encanto. I can't remember the kid's name.
Little dude.
Little Dude. Okay, yes. Let's go by Little Dude.
I'll call him Little Dude.
There we go. Little Dude loves... Little Dude. God. It sounds like the adult that was talking to Tommy in one of the episodes of Rugrats, like the greaser that looks like John Travolta that says, "Yeah, little dude." Anyway, little dude is the one that controls like all the animals and everything like that. I'm assuming that's what we're kind of going off of with this story for Encanto.
I have no idea. They haven't said anything.
Right. They haven't even said what the ride still is to this day.
But we'll get to Encanto in a few minutes.
But, you know, but going back to the conservation message, what's going to be the conservation message with Indiana Jones?
He hates snakes.
How is that conservation?
No, exactly. It doesn't really make sense, does it? And I think there's something very powerful being lost when we're getting rid of dinosaurs because, you know, seeing dinosaurs and going back in time and seeing dinosaurs is really something because these animals aren't around. The reason, you know, yes, the reason we don't have the dinosaurs around anymore is natural because they were wiped out by an asteroid. That wasn't man, obviously. But it shows you these animals aren't around because of extinction.
Right.
You know, extinction is forever. That's such a powerful message when we think of wildlife today that's endangered. And we're going to be losing that. So. Well,
and the other question truly is that we don't know what the story behind Indiana Jones is. Other than them talking about, I think they had mentioned something about that Indy is on the hunt for a long-lost species or something like that, to the point where I said dinosaurs. That would be the easiest to switch over.
I guess we'll use that to segue into the dinosaur to Indiana Jones transition, right? So it's dinosaurs going to be rethemed at Indiana Jones Adventure-ish, but you know, you think about what you just said, a large mythical creature. It sounds like a Carnotaurus. Now, when we've looked at the transition from Splash Mountain to Tiana and Test Track 2.0 to Test Track 3.0, right? As little about the ride has changed as possible. It's all been in the show. So it leads me to believe that it's very plausible that the Carnotaurus animatronics will be reused in this ride in the same locations in some way. Now, the reason I say that is it just makes sense because the Carnotaurus animatronics have their own support structure and foundations in a building. Why would you move those, right?
No, it's true.
So it's, I think...
I mean, you could also use the animatronic structure of it, too, for
100%.
whatever you want to do with the project.
And maybe there will be a new figure, but I think large figures being in the same place in a ride that already exists, I don't think that's going to change. You know,
again, they've got an idea. I'm going to let them run with it.
By all means, blow me away, right?
By all means. Look, I am a firm believer. Marty Sklar said this all the time. Disney parks are not a museum. They should always be ever-changing. I truthfully don't know. We've talked about this with Muppet Vision. Jim Henson is probably looking down and saying, wow, I can't believe you kept it for that long. Okay? I bet you Walt is also looking down on us saying, wow, I still can't believe after, you know, all this time, after 60 plus years, It's a Small World is still there. It's always time for change, as long as the change is good.
Yes.
It has to be equal or better. It can't be
And when
worse.
we talk about equal or better, you know, this isn't the first Indiana Jones adventure ride using this ride system. There's 2 others.
Especially when it's using essentially the same ride path in Dinosaur.
Right. So can this live up to California, to Tokyo's version? Right?
Who knows?
Because the first thing you say when you say, oh, we're turning it into Indiana Jones Adventure, the first thing you think about is California and like, wow, I was blown away by that.
You're blown away because of the physical, practical sets and everything.
It's not just
Are we going to be seeing that with this version? Because we've talked about how Dinosaur is just a lot of dark walls with these animatronic dinosaurs that are just coming out. I mean, I'm sure the budget was probably slashed a lot with this in the early days of Animal Kingdom because of how much they were spending on the animatronic dinosaurs. obviously they didn't have to pay that much for the ride vehicles because it had been done already 3 years ago with Indiana Jones. So that budget probably didn't need to be changed that much. But wouldn't it have been amazing if we had Dinosaur in these like amazing true dark forests instead of just, oh yeah, here's like a tree, but you see that's just a black wall.
I think, in this conversion, you have to look at what they did with Splash Mountain the Tiana and what they did with Test Track 2.0 to Test Track 3.0. Not much changed from Splash Mountain the Tiana except the animatronics. But the layout, the spaces in the ride did not change at all.
A lot of the set pieces, though, did change.
They did.
Obviously.
And then Test Track, I feel like it's a lot of the same, except it was done in a more clever way. Right? So all the rooms are still there, exactly as they were in Test Track, but they're filled out with more set pieces, more show lighting, right? So that's something they can do with Dinosaur to Indiana Jones, is they can flesh out the sets a little bit more to make it kind of come alive instead of just, oh, you're in a dark forest, imagine there's a bunch of trees around you. It's like, no, they can actually put things around you. More foliage, for example, right? Or foliage. But they can put more around you to kind of put you in that. So it'll be interesting to see how exactly they pull this off. In terms of the queue, the entranceway, the building is kind of a concrete stucco architecture already. I don't see much needing to change with that. You repaint it, you retexture it a little bit, but I don't think any actual construction needs to change besides turning the outside into a pyramid. But in terms of the initial foyer...
But if that's also going to be the storyline of us going into this pyramid, into this Mayan Aztec temple or whatever they're going for with this, obviously you need to change the inside significantly too.
Unless you go inside to go outside. That's been done before.
But again, inside to go outside to this warehouse, this institute, because I mean, the queue perfectly resembles what the mind would perceive as the Dino Institute. Okay? How are you going to change that to, this is what we want you to be going to after going through a Mayan temple? It's going to be an interesting thing to kind of keep playing off of until we see more concrete details about what they're doing with this.
It will be interesting. I really want it to live up to the expectations of the other two existing rides already.
But I also still want it to live up to what Dinosaur still is.
Dark and scary?
Not even so much that, just that fun, exhilarating, thrilling ride.
That's what the Indiana Jones ride in California
and that's
is
true.
In Tokyo.
That's true.
So,
But we kind of talked about Encanto and Indiana Jones. We also have to realize, too, that come early next year, when they shut Dinosaur down, that's a lot of attractions now that we do not have.
Oh, Animal Kingdom's going to be suffering.
It's going to be suffering for a good 2 years because of this. Granted, at the end of the year, we do get the Zootopia show coming into the former Tough to Be a Bug Theater.
See, I have feelings on that. I
need more knowledge about this again, too.
So my thoughts on Zootopia. I am a very Animal Kingdom purist in its original message and its original form and building off of that, right? So I don't think Zootopia belongs in Animal Kingdom because it doesn't really have a conservation message within it.
Unless they could develop something.
But
give Jared Bush a good amount of money and he could come up with something.
However, if they would have
we also don't know what the sequel's going to be like, too.
If they would have kept Dinoland and just worked on it a little bit, and they were looking for a true expansion for Animal Kingdom, I would have settled for a Zootopia Land like we have in Asia.
Correct.
Like I said, I don't think Zootopia belongs in Animal Kingdom, but I would have settled for it because it would have been a major e-ticket attraction and a big area and a very significant expansion for Animal Kingdom, because I'm really not a fan of replacing things without adding things.
When you have all the space to already work with.
And I mean, I'm a fan of updating things that need to be updated.
Yeah.
But we've been in this cycle.
It's like what we say about Tom Sawyer Island and Rivers of America. Yeah. That's going to get an increased traffic footprint when Cars and Villains open. It's the same thing that we already see with Guardians replacing Universe of Energy. Look, I loved Universe of Energy. It was my favorite attraction.
Why can't we get an expansion, though, to the park?
But Universe of Energy also didn't get the throughput that it needed to be able to sustain the demand to still be there. They closed Universe of Energy, and that didn't affect the park's capacity. When they opened Guardians of the Galaxy, that drove traffic over to that section of the park, and it also increased capacity, the attendance as well.
But is doing this to Dinoland really increasing the park's capacity?
That's going to be the true question. Look, I think you're going to see that happen with the Encanto ride, mainly because Primeval World was not a capacity guzzler. Okay,
I worked there, I can tell you the numbers were garbage.
Exactly,
especially towards the end.
If the rumors are true, and
what do you think this Encanto ride is going to be?
I believe it could be a track-based ride, not a trackless, but kind of something like a Runaway Railway, a Ratatouille ride, not Rise of the Resistance.
I have two ideas.
Okay. I've also heard a boat ride too.
I think we can expect either Pirates of the Caribbean Shanghai ride system.
Oh, don't give me hope.
Or
don't give me hope.
Well, it looks like it's possible that might be the Avatar ride in California's ride system.
Yes.
But I think it's also plausible it might end up being the ride system for Frozen in Tokyo.
Okay. And again, but what we're both mentioning here, high capacity.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I'm trying to say, is that whatever this Encanto ride is, it will be so much more high capacity than what Primeval World was. Dinosaur is a different story. Dinosaur has demand, but not enough of the families truly wanting to enjoy it. The other question will be will Indy truly affect that number? And I say the families truly don't enjoy Dinosaur because imagine little Jimmy or Cindy riding Dinosaur, and then they've got nightmares for the rest of their lives. It's one of the reasons why Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter closed.
I'm going to blow your mind. You ready? Little kids love that ride.
Oh no, I would say it's probably like a 50-50 kind of thing.
It's more than that. Little kids love it.
I truly think there's still a lot of kids that probably come off of that and they're like, "Oh my God, Mommy, what did I go to see?" I don't know what that voice was too, but
it's really weird because like I worked at Dinosaur for 2.5 years, and
because
I can only remember a handful.
I've seen kids coming off that ride and they've been ecstatic.
I can only remember.
I've also seen kids come off of Universe of Energy and they were excited. They love that.
I can only remember a handful of times in my 2.5 years of working at Dinosaur where kids came off crying or upset. They love it. They love it. Now, Countdown to Extinction was a different story. And for those of you who don't know, the ride Dinosaur opened as Countdown to Extinction in 1998. It was rethemed to Dinosaur in around 2000, 2001 when the movie came out. But the Countdown to Extinction, basically the same ride, just dialed up to 10. Very loud audio, very dark.
Still kind of the same story because they were still on
the hunt for the
Iguanodon.
It was the same story, yes. Yeah. But Dr. Seeker's tone was also a little bit more sinister.
And then at the end of the ride, you don't have the Carnotaurus like coming right at you, that static figure, but it was the asteroid.
No.
That was coming in.
The asteroid was only in previews.
Oh.
It was changed to a Carnotaurus for Animal Kingdom's opening.
Interesting. Okay.
So
Because I've seen the footage of
Yes.
the asteroid coming
In the
in.
previews, it was an asteroid hurling towards you, but it was swapped out for the Carnotaurus very, very shortly after opening.
Okay.
The original ending was absolute chaos. It
Right.
was... I'm going to try and describe this real quick. So for those of you who have been on Dinosaur, so you're coming around the curve right before the final dip, right? You line up to the final dip. In the original ending, you would have the asteroid fly over the tree canopy above you, land behind you. There would be a bright flash from behind you. It would push the vehicle forward. At that moment, the Carnotaurus is revealed. Then you would see the time portal. Then you would dive into darkness, see the star field. 3 very, very bright flashes. And then the brightest light you could have possibly ever seen. And then there was originally a set of show doors in front of you that you'd be hurtling towards. They would fly open at the last second at the end of the time tunnel. And the car would do a full drift around a turn. It was intense.
I mean, it was a much more intense ride when it was Countdown to Extinction. But anyway, like, will the Indiana Jones ride still be family friendly? To a point.
So here's the other interesting thing. When they converted, so when it opened as Countdown to Extinction, it had the same height requirement as Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones
is 46 inches.
So when they changed it to Dinosaur, the movie is a family-friendly movie, right? So what they did is they changed the motion profile on the vehicles to be a little less aggressive, and they were able to lower the height requirement to 42 inches.
Because now it's 40.
Or is it 40? It's 40.
Now it's 40.
Okay. So when they...
But Indy is still 46.
Right, yeah, because it's the original profile. So when they convert Dinosaur to Indiana Jones, are they going to make it aggressive, or are they going to keep it so that they can have this 40-inch height requirement?
I think to be more family-friendly, it'll be 40 inches. I think they'll keep the profile the way it is.
Because I never really understood why Indiana Jones had such a much higher height requirement while I was working at Dinosaur. And then in October, we went out to California, and I rode it for the first time, and I almost got thrown off the freaking RV.
Because you sat in the back row the first time.
Yeah,
right?
oh my God, it was a wild ride.
I can't remember if we rode into the front row first.
I don't know, but it was a wild ride. So it'll be interesting to see if they want to go the thrill ride route or keep it more family friendly.
I think in true Disney fashion now, they'll keep it family friendly. They'll keep it at 40 inches.
What's not going to change though in this land? Restaurantosaurus.
So we still think that one day when this opens as Tropical Americas, that will still stay as chicken nuggets, hamburgers, and
100%. The menu's a hit for the families in the area. Maybe they retheme the menu to be a little bit more cultural.
I definitely think you'll see like the inside.
But
and
the building's
outer
not changing. The building's not changing. Look at the concept art. It's not changing.
It looks a little different, just a little.
Barely.
But I think it's going to be closing at some point, probably next year.
But my thing is the smell inside the building. It smells like McDonald's when you go in there.
Well, because it used to be basically a McDonald's.
No, I swear they're pumping the McDonald's smell into the building. Because you go into Cosmic Rays, they do burgers and stuff. It doesn't smell like that.
What do you think a McDonald's smells like? Grease?
Yeah, no, literally grease, salt, and fries. Am I wrong? It has it's a particular smell. And no, but that's the exact smell you get at Restaurantosaurus, and I'm pretty sure they pump the smell in there.
Well, to be honest, I hope that they change it up a little bit. I'm always that advocate of quality food, but I get that you do want to have that type of food still somewhere in the park.
We see this throughout Animal Kingdom already. The type of food offered in Pandora, the food offered in Africa, in Discovery Island at the Flame Tree Barbecue.
Slight off topic here a little bit because we're talking about food in Animal Kingdom. Have you seen the new menu item, and I'm using that in air quotes, for Tiffin's? They have a burger. Okay?
It's like $40.
It's $39.
Oh.
But you can add the truffle experience for an extra $15, which makes this a $54 burger. Yes.
That's extortion.
I mean, granted, yes, you're getting black truffles on this thing, but $54 for a burger at Tiffin's. I would tell you to go into Tiffin's and just have land salad in there, because that was delicious. It's actual lettuce from the Land Pavilion.
I've never gotten food at Tiffin's, but I've had the alcohol, and it was good.
I mean, it was alcohol. It was probably good.
I had a great time. I had several alcohols, and it was great.
So you went to the Nomad Lounge, then?
Don't remember the name.
Yeah.
But sure.
It's the lounge that's to the left
Yes.
of Tiffin's, yeah. Small sidetrack just because I've been seeing that, and that kind of like boggled my mind of, I guess it's successful because, I mean, it's still on the menu. People are grabbing it.
They're Disney tourists. They'll buy it.
Yeah. I mean, we were driving over by the Vineland outlets that are on over by Mary Queen of the Universe, and you know that Shell station that's over there? It
The
was
one that has like $8.
$8.99 a gallon when we were over there. And I still saw 3 cars pumping gas there, and I just said, hey, these tourists, man, they're not paying attention.
They do, fun fact, they do reasonable prices for like Bryan residents.
Really?
You got to show them an ID with an address for Lake Bryan.
So you would have to go inside.
Yeah.
And do that instead of just driving out of the community, making a left onto Apopka Vineland, and going to a Shell station that was like $2.90, I think.
Yeah.
That's
Economics is crazy, man.
unless you were giving it to me for like significantly less than what normal gas is, then maybe I'd do that. But hey, I have an electric car now, so I don't really care about that.
We talked about it we mentioned it very briefly. Zootopia coming to the Tree of Life.
Correct.
Blows my mind. What, how, why?
I think this was look, the original idea, if you remember when they were talking about this, getting rid of Dinoland, the original idea was putting a Moana water ride there. And then if you noticed, Zootopia was taking over Dinosaur. I think financially they said, yes, we could do that, but that's going to cost a lot of money because Zootopia would have required them to completely bulldoze down Dinosaur and rebuild it from what they have currently in Shanghai. When they said, you know what? We already have this amazing ride out in Disneyland called Indiana Jones Adventure. And what if we just kind of brought that over to Dinosaur because it's the exact same ride system. And that was going to be a lot more budget friendly to the executives. But they said, we still want to do Zootopia. Where can we do it without having to build the actual land? And they said, you know what? We've got this 3D show that scares the bejesus out of these little kids because of all the bugs and everything.
And my wife.
And that was tough to be a bug. And your wife.
And my wife.
And your wife. And me when I was a little kid, too, because I would be terrified of the spiders that would come down. Look, mind you, this was the same kid that was also terrified of Alien Encounter. But then when I finally listened to the audio, I laughed my butt off.
Okay,
because,
but...
like, Alien Encounter, you would hear, like, when they explode the alien at the end, you hear, oh, my mouth was open. When you hear these spiders jumping down from Tough to Be a Bug, you hear them go, yee-hoo!
Okay, so you know what?
It's comedy.
Before I met my wife, when I would have, like, a girl I was dating or hanging out with, we would do, like, Disney days, and we would go to Animal Kingdom, and I would ask them, hey, have you been through the It's Tough to Be a Bug? And they're like, oh, no. I go, oh, let's go. It's pretty cool. It's easy. And I would just scare the bejesus out of them with the bugs.
Oh, my God.
It was really fun. Because they would have no idea, and I wouldn't tell them. I'm terrible.
But anyway.
I think it'll be interesting to see the Zootopia bit, because we don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
And
we've heard...
There's a lot of ways
seen,
they
like,
can
some
spin
of the behind-the-scenes stuff with Jennifer Goodwin, who plays Judy Hopps. They created a new song for it. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do with it. And we should probably be seeing it very, very soon, because they've said winter of 2025. So that probably means right before the Christmas rush.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's kind of our assessment on what's going on with Animal Kingdom right now.
Do we think that we still need to do more with Animal Kingdom, or is this enough?
There's something that they should have done over a decade ago, 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, that would have really helped them. So Animal Kingdom is not very good at being a zoo and a theme park at the same time.
It's not a zoo. Not a zoo.
Which is stupid.
I'm sorry, I loved that expression. Nahtuzu. Not a zoo. I loved that.
But it's not very good at being a theme park and a zoo at the same time. And people who come there want to either go to a zoo or go to a theme park. Now, there is a place in Florida that's very good at being a theme park and a zoo. It's called Busch Gardens Tampa. Because
And the aquatic version of that would be SeaWorld.
SeaWorld's not as good as Busch Gardens is. But here's what's going on. So I've been to Busch Gardens.
I'm just going to say that.
I've been to Busch Gardens as a roller coaster junkie. I was able to spend all day there and have a blast. Not touch any of the animal attractions. I've also gone with my wife. We did not ride any roller coasters or rides. We just did animal things all day. And it was absolutely fantastic. So I get people, when I was working at Animal Kingdom, I also worked on safaris for a while, people would want to see elephants and giraffe and lions, right? The only way to do that is to wait and get on safaris. And also, if you have heart, neck, or back problems, or you are pregnant, you shouldn't be riding safaris anyways. So the thing that Disney doesn't have that Busch Gardens has over them is the ability to just walk up and see these animals. And
but to that point, you also do have the Maharaja Jungle Trek. You also have the Pangani.
But you can't see elephants.
Gorilla
You can't
Falls.
see giraffe. You can't see lions.
True.
Unless
If you
you're on
want
a
to see
safari.
those, you have to go on the safari.
Yes. And you may or may not see them either in your brief glimpses you get of them. So one of the things I always thought Animal Kingdom should have done around 2005, they have a huge plot of land to the north of Cali River Rapids and the Jungle Trek, and to the east of Conservation Station. I always thought they should build a second savannah and have it accessible via Conservation Station, in which you could do some feeding experiences and just see some of those animals.
Why do that when you could put a price tag on that and call it Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge? Now, granted, you can't see the lions and the elephants on the Savannah at Animal Kingdom Lodge, but you can see giraffes, you can see zebras, and they have a price tag to that.
True. But I think as a theme park, not really thinking about the lodge, but as a theme park, I think that's something that could have made Animal Kingdom a stronger zoo.
Or also, too, doing even, again, to be able to put a price point to it, too, doing more private tours on the Savannah. I remember way back when they used to do, I think it was for concierge guests, club level at Animal Kingdom Lodge, you could book a private tour that was included with your stay. And it was a sunrise safari. They put you out onto open air vehicles, but they weren't as...
The Wild Africa Trek vehicles, probably.
Probably, yeah. And they would take you out with a even more animal expert on there. That you could even ask questions back and forth.
It's basically Wild Africa Trek, but not as streamlined.
Correct.
Sounds like Wild Africa Trek is a very sequential experience right now. So,
but even then, like, that can be too intense for some people too, and there's an age point to that too.
Right. It's not accessible to everyone. That's the thing.
Yes, Kilimanjaro is accessible to probably about 95% of, if not more than that, of the theme park's attendance of the day. But what if you can make that number 100% by having a less intense ride vehicle? So that this way, like you said, the pregnant women and anyone with heart, back, or neck conditions could ride it.
Well, the pregnancy warning is actually not.
Like, think about it. What if you had Omni-Movers out there on the savannah?
Well, part of me thinks they should just rip up the road and just make it smooth, just to avoid the neck and back issue. But the pregnancy part of it actually has nothing to do with the aggressiveness of the road. It's because if you have, say something happens and you have a complication with your pregnancy and you need medical attention, it can take you a minute to get that medical attention.
Because, I mean, it is a 20-minute ride.
Yes.
And you could be very far away from the lake.
Now, there are exits and everything, and they will ultimately, if there's a medical emergency, they'll take you off of one of those ride path exits to the maintenance lot.
Because if someone's having a heart attack, I mean, that's the same case here that we're talking.
But that's why they have the warning for pregnancies. It's just the ride duration.
Right.
But I think there's some things they could have done over the past 20 years to make Animal Kingdom a stronger park and a zoo. I just kind of think they might be in a little weird identity thing right now, where are they a zoo or a theme park? What do they want to be?
It's not a zoo.
Are we going to see...
I'm going to keep saying that because I know it bothers you. Not a zoo.
Are we going to see any new animals in the tropical Americas?
It's possible. I'm very, very hopeful for that, because you already have that area where they have those crocodiles that are right across from restaurant.
And it doesn't look like the pathways are changing at all.
Correct. So you've got these areas that are already earmarked as, this would be an animal area. What could we see with that? What animals could we see? And that gives me a good gleam of hope for this project. Yeah. It's possible.
But yeah, so I think Tropical Americas is going to be interesting when it's all said and done.
Yeah. I'm excited for the future of Animal Kingdom. I know I've always said, I love this park and I love what it's becoming, mainly because a good friend of mine is the general manager of park operations over there. Her name is Kristen Stalker. I love her. She's doing such a great job with that park. Kristen, if you're listening, you know you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job over there. She's the only one that brought back the Times Guides.
Good.
Because remember we had that conversation about that you can now go into Animal Kingdom and pick up a Times Guide. Good. Over there. So
sometimes people just prefer paper.
Absolutely. Well, I think that kind of wraps up the show. Guys, thank you all so much for joining in again. Next week, we did kind of mention it last week, but next week we are going to be hanging out at Old Key West, my favorite resort on property.
I've never been.
I'm very excited to show you this place because it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
We'll give it a try.
And I think, we could pack up this kind of stuff and maybe record a show over there. So
sounds like I better write an episode.
You probably should. Or we could talk about Old Key West too. So be sure to join us next week when we may be recording from Disney's Old Key West Resort. Because especially we could also talk about our experience at Olivia's over there, because I think you're going to love the food over there.
Crumbly my tumbly. Well, we can also talk about the Hoop-de-Doo.
We could go see Hoop.
We are going to see Hoop.
Wait, I'm sorry. You're not a Broadway buff. You don't get that reference.
No. But we're going to see the Hoop-de-Doo, so we can talk about our previous experiences with that.
Unless we record on Wednesday or Thursday. Well, we could record Friday morning, if anything, too, before we check out. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Guys, thank you all for joining in. Hopefully you'll join us again next week, where we'll probably be recording from Disney's Old Key West Resort. So be sure to tune in next week, and hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for tuning in again.
See you next time, everyone.